like one investor I talked to at the end of my pitch, you have traction, they have different KPIs they're looking at. So, and when I heard like, why do you want to be profitable? It clashed with me because in my head, of course I need to be profitable. If I decide to be a baker or to open a shop down the street, I need to be profitable as soon as possible. That's how I think.
Sure.
For them, that's not the case. So this can be conflicting, this kind of mindset.
And we're live.
Perfect. Let's start. Well, hello everyone. Today we host Franz, one of the founders of Spacio, a cloud-based design startup based out of Oslo, which, as they put it, is building cloud software built by architects for architects. Franz, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So, Franz, just to start, I thought, the audience maybe don't know who you are. Do you mind introducing yourself and then tell us, what is Spacio? What was the problem, that was grinding your gears that, made you want to start this entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. So my name is Franz Forsberg. I have a German name, but I'm French and Norwegian. Raised in both countries, studied architecture and engineering in Japan, where I lived for 6 years. Then I got really interested into sustainable environmental design and how to create architecture that uses the sun, the wind, and all those passive strategies to be as low energy as possible and environmental friendly. And then I went working to Norway because, working as an architect is not always easy, especially in Japan or London, where you have to probably work 70 hours a week and get paid like nothing. And Norway is a different thing. There, if you still work at the office at 4 p.m. on a Friday, people look weird at you, if there is anyone left at the office at all. And people really encourage you to have a social life and to enjoy the sun when there is some sun. And the working conditions are much better. So I joined some offices over there and started my career as an architect in Norway. Transitioning to that, with my background as building performance, I got assigned task to evaluate buildings and at different design stages in the office regarding thermal comfort, energy efficiency, concept in the early phases, urban wind, ventilation, and all those things which kind of require very state-of-the-art simulation software and also pretty good knowledge on how to use the software. We say shit in, shit out. So you need to input the right information, be sure you know the software properly, and then extrapolate, post-process the results so you can communicate to a language that designers actually understand. And in that process, for me, this whole process was very time-consuming, very heavy. And even though Norway is kind of the pioneer of BIM and the implementation of high-quality 3D models and BIM, the other softwares don't really necessarily connect to BIM. So I always fetched from the architect the latest model with high quality. And all those software do not use, like they don't have any way to take this information in an efficient manner. So I had to remodel the project in every of those software anyway. And I was like, that's so dumb. So I started to find a way to connect software together and got in contact with the BIM manager of the office, which is today our CTO and co-founder, Stian. And he, as a better programmer than I am, as a better nerd than I am, really helped me to crack those workflows, because we often say when architect has a question, he needs the answer basically now. If you take 1 week or 2 weeks to answer, the question is not relevant anymore, because it's not like it's going to stop the design for 1 week or 2
Right.
weeks.
You just make an assumption and move on.
Right. And that's the problem. We make assumptions. So how to reduce that question to answer time was kind of what we focused on very early. And we developed a lot of scripts, lots of way around those problems. And then I'm getting to the end of the how Spacio got to exist. And then we got quite some. The office saw a lot of opportunity. Oh, like finally we can really do data-driven design for a change, not just pretend we do it. And I got to hire a team to do this more widely in the organization. Organization was basically 16 offices in 3 countries in Scandinavia. I was based in Oslo. Stian, the BIM guy, in Fredrikstad, which is 1 hour south of Oslo towards Sweden. And I got the mandate to basically hire a team to have the same position as me, basically doing digitalization, parametric design, and scaling those workflows through the offices. I got the mandate to hire my peer in Sweden and one in Denmark, which I did. We built a great team. And very quickly we saw actually the opportunity to bring this to a wider audience. So the Swedish guy, as we still call him, which is Andre Agi, our third founder, and the CPO, so basically the visionary for Spacio. And Stian and I decided, okay, to bring this to another level on the web and dedicate our time fully to it. So Spacio as a design software for facilitating early phase concept feasibility studies with data is a project that Andre Agi had for many years in the past. I brought to it the sustainability and it's the environmental analysis and this kind of climate friendly architecture. That's what I bring to it. And it's also part of the longer vision, because we still have to build the base of the modeling software and those generative design capabilities and so on. So my part will grow as the base of the software will grow. And Stian is basically the facilitator, making our dreams possible, because without him, it will be just big ideas and we will not necessarily know how to tackle them in a very practical, realistic way, like the tech stack, how all those optimization are thanks to him. So we say together we form a very good trio, good designers, good performance, good BIM, and Stian's background before BIM was actually carpentry and construction sites. So he worked for 7 years in different offices, telling architects how to do detailing.
Right. So that it's actually constructible.
Absolutely. And that's one, like if you look like the McKinsey report and so on, like 30% of the construction costs are due to error made by architect in the design phase, because of the workers not being able to read a drawing or not be able to read it, but basically the drawing is wrong. So you have to redo it. And that's kind of what he brings also to the table. And that's what we say. Spacio makes buildable buildings. We don't want to just be simple volumes or shoeboxes. For us, it's very important to have the design aspect into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting nuggets in there, and we obviously want to deep dive into Spacio, but I haven't met a lot of architects trained in Japan that then go back to Europe. So just as a side note, do you mind telling us like what's the difference in culture and approach to architecture in Japan and Europe? And then we can go back talking about Spacio, because I think that's like a really interesting background you have.
Architecture in Japan, actually the studies, it's architecture in Japan is under the engineering department. So you like it or not, you have to really understand things such as earthquake countermeasures, how to dimension a pillar, and how many steel bars do you need to be able to resist different magnitude of earthquakes. So I did that. Physics in Japanese was another level. Um, they have a real strong legacy of wood architecture, timber, light frame, more precisely light frame. So a lot of focus on wood techniques, which I really liked, and I took my last year's focus on wood. Actually, I thought that was also, it's an interesting topic, working with good materials like this. And what else? And maybe old school, I would say. I can't really compare because I did only my studies for 4 years over there, but a lot of focus on hand drawing, a lot of focus on physics, vernacular architecture. Yes, understanding also a lot of facades physics, basically the building physics. How to calculate a U value by hand, the condensation point within a wall structure, and where to put the vapor membrane on the inside or the outside. All those kind of stuff, which is not super exciting, but I guess it's good to know. Because then when I went to Norway, and I think in France it's the same, it's much more under the artistic department and not engineering at all. And then you have architects who basically don't know how to build a building.
Right.
They can make beautiful design, they have concept, they have sense of spatiality, of all those fluffy, nice things, but tangible, maybe lower experience, yes.
Sure. Interesting. I'm sure that like engineering mindset is also translated then in how you think about product and Spacio. So, um,
Yes, probably. Mm-hmm.
it sounds like a very emotionally charged experience for you.
I suppose it's good in many ways because it keeps it grounded in that reality of what's actually possible whilst still being artistic then.
Yes, and also, there are a lot of software there, very simple volumetry, feasibility study, and we have kind of 3 keywords in Spacio. Also, when I present Spacio to different audiences, we say design, analyze, and comply. And most of this, I would say, competition, but the other newcomers are focused on simple volumes, and they either focus on speed, so how to get quicker to metrics for return on investment analysis, to do those concept stage, or they focus on analysis. And because it's so conceptual, the analysis are actually very early stage as well. And we say design because we want to be a design software by architects for architects, yes. So we have input very early on those kind of BIM elements. So when you look at Spacio on our videos and so on, you see we have facades, with depth, we have walls, we have slabs, we have roofs, pitch roofs, and all of those, which later, when you get out of Spacio to BIM, are native BIM elements.
Yeah.
Then we have the analysis part, because you need to be able to judge with data if your design is performant or not. So of course we have analysis, and there will be so much more to come in the future. Like, we have a quite large vision regarding analysis. And then we have the compliance part, because a lot of industries, like, we met in München.
Mention, yeah.
In München, right? And I was there for 6 months in an incubator program for startups. And most of the startups around me at the time were in different fields. They could be medtech, fintech, legal tech, whatever tech you want to call. And most of them are focusing on compliance, because that's what the whole planet is worried about. Do we comply with regulation? Can we facilitate this? And I see very little discussion in my field about compliance. Everyone is talking about speed. Let's do design faster, generative design, 1 million solution in 1 minute. But when I talk to architects, speed is great. But if it's to go faster into the wall, then you don't necessarily want to go faster. You want to be sure it goes fast and in the right direction. So that's where, for us, compliance is very important. Because just giving more options without really knowing if it's if they have any credibility, that's easy, I would say. So we focus on compliance, and to be able to comply, you need more than simple volumes. Of course, there are many things you can do at this stage, but we want to go one level deeper and ensure that what we generate is actually buildable by the laws of physics and the gravity, and things won't just fall down, but also by the regulations in the countries over there. So that compliance part is our red star. We have some elements into it in the application already, but more of it will come gradually as we bring more detail and more, and the platform will get more mature.
Certainly. And I guess in that way, your grounding in Japan really helped because you can merge those two.
Yes, and maybe just as a fun fact, Japan is very, squared A4. If you don't bend in, you better get out. So conformity and compliance is also something I have.
Yeah.
I still bow, when I meet people sometimes.
Okay. Just to bring it back to then your founding story, you mentioned it there, but there's always a huge moment when you make the decision to actually quit the day job. What was that moment like for you? Was it more of a gradual process, or was it we're definitely going to do this?
So for about 3 months, I pitched in that company a spin-off for intrapreneurship kind of solution. We wanted, because we were kind of asked to make products that we could sell to other offices out of our scripts and workflows and bits of code. And we had a hard time explaining them that from an in-house solution that works for employees to a product that you want to sell to the market, it's a million light years gap that requires a different game. And if you want us to take that game, that effort, we kind of wanted to have some ownership. Let's say it simply. And when we realized it was not negotiable on their side, we basically said, okay, let's quit. And instead of trying, to move something very rigid back and forth, we just said, okay, let's quit. And then we realized, me, Andre, and Stian were like, the next day we had a team meeting, and this was under COVID, so we were used to work remotely. And we had worked together from before, so it was a natural choice. We were colleagues and friends and now partners. And we say family today. Oh. And then we're like, okay, what do? We just know what we don't want to do. We don't really know what we want to do, actually. Like, okay, we have this idea, but how to lift it up. We hadn't worked on the web. We didn't know those platform and working in 3D. We were very much reliant on ArchiCAD, Revit, Rhino, and making plugins for those platforms. So the first year we spent really discovering different things. And that was the good time because we had personal savings. We still had money. So it was easy to just discover and, learn, and then learn about how to render objects on the screen in the web, how to create. Yeah, so we basically also reach out to the customers to people we knew that we could do consultancy for, and we grabbed some consultancy job here and there to earn some more cash. We built one first product, which was a CFD viewer. So we got a job for a high rise in Sweden, and I was basically doing the wind and the urban comfort assessment for this high rise. And we won the bid against a very traditional multinational consultancy firm. And why the
Nice.
architecture office chose us was basically we said we will deliver a web app to you, not a shitty PDF that you can't understand. And reading a CFD wind problem on a PDF is very limiting. It's a 3D problem, multidimensional. You have pressure, you have wind, you have different forces, and just having what the consultant chooses to take a screenshot is very little informative. And we told them, with us, you get more iteration for the same price. You get everything in a 3D web app. You can compare scenario 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we did like so many scenarios. And we can really do data-driven decisions and incorporate this into the design process. And in that, we learn how to basically work with geometries on the web, create a first viewer, and so on. We made a second web app that we still use today to do daylight consultancy, because also daylight is also something I have expertise in. And we made a second app also connecting Rhino and the web. And then we got more confidence, and little by little we shaped the tech stack of Spacio. And Spacio is our third product, taking the learnings from that journey. So it came gradually.
Fair. Well, do you like ever regret like kind of quitting without any clear path forward? Or because I can imagine that's also sounds incredibly freeing, like having this white ocean in front of you. But now with retrospect.
So I have a tendency to not regret things in my life, but to learn from. That said, also in München, and now I'm in Paris at Station F, which is another world's largest place for startups. And I have startups everywhere there in the office around me. And there's something I learned quickly. Oh, are you a first-time founder? And I was like, first-time founder? Yes, it's the first time I'm a first-time founder. And then I heard people, no, I've built like three companies in the past, or I've did one IPO, or even if you didn't do an IPO, if you've built a company from before, you surely learn from your own mistakes.
Sure.
So my point is, next time I have a project like this, I won't do the same things.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I regret the mistake I made. Like, I had to learn from them, and we weren't coached, we weren't guided. So there is a learning curve, and we're architects, and I'm pretty good at, I mean, I don't know if I can say that myself, but leadership, building projects, managing myself. I'm pretty squared and like Japanese in that sense. I can. My desk is in very order.
It's very ordered.
But forgot what I wanted to say. But yeah, definitely things to learn in the journey.
Yeah.
And for anyone wanting to do such a project for the first time, yeah, what I wanted to say, I'm not a business guy. I didn't go to business school and so on. So, but advice for anyone wanting to do such a project is talk to other founders. We had no founders in our network. We only had architects.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe quickly get into those environments where you can meet people at any age, because that's also those nice things. Like with different founders around me, there are people, they are 22 years old, out of school, and they already get funding for millions for an idea. And I'm like, damn, at 22, I was such a kid. And those guys are like so mature in some way. They're gonna, be so wealthy, so young. And there are guys which are 60 years old. So there is no age to do a project like this that is close to your heart. But maybe at not every age you can take the same risks.
Yeah.
If you have family and kids, you're maybe less risk aware, and that's good. And when you're young, maybe you can sleep and stay at your parents after studies. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I guess like no founder journey is the same, and everyone like figures out their own path. Now, going back to the product, you mentioned Spacio is your third product. Now, something Harry and I think about often is like when you like are a startup, like there's a point where you have to launch a product, right?
Mm.
But obviously when you launch a product, and you kind of hinted at it, your vision isn't complete, right? You're only at the beginning, but you want to launch to iterate and learn. So how do you guys think about like when you have enough critical mass of features that you can launch a product and you can start charging for it, even though that vision isn't necessarily complete?
So for us, it was about a year after we started Spacio concept. We got a business coach, a friend of Stian actually, who told us, you need to validate the ID. You need to build data points. And he had this first language that we now speak normally, but for us it was really new. And says, just do a webinar, see how many people come, and put an offer at the end and sell it. But it's not ready. You don't need to have it to be ready. The next iPhone, you can buy it before it's out, right? You can pre-sale it. So just like an offer which is attractive, and after the webinar, if they buy the vision, if they buy you as people, maybe they buy. What do you have to lose? Okay, how much should we price? What should be the offer? So we made that webinar, I think, in March 2 years ago, at least 2 years ago. And time flies, so it's maybe 3, but I think it's 2. And then at the end, we had an offer, which is basically the product is not out. We will release a beta version in June, so 3 months from now. And the deal is, I think it was for €395, €395, you will get 6 months of license when the first version is out. And we don't know when the first version is out, but the beta is out in June, and you get unlimited access in the beta time. And we thought we will launch in September or something. We still haven't launched. And then 7 people bought. We're like, wow. And we got some money and this validation. And then we called the coach, like, we have validated our ID. All right, great. Do it again, he said, and increase the price. And then we did. And then every month from March to August or to September, we increased by €100 this 6-month deal, basically ending up at like €1,000 for 6 months, aka €2,000 for a year kind of price tag. And then we said, okay, the beta actually didn't launch in June, it launched in September. Okay, great. And then people started using it, and then we still haven't launched the first version. We think that will be around this summertime, but I don't promise, because every time I say it's something, it doesn't. It's always
Well, it's fine. I mean, Elon Musk promises something and like it's always delayed, and his company value just goes up and up until recently.
We have real intention to do good. But then one mistake we did, to be honest, and we've discussed this with many of the users, is that we were, for the very beginning, the first version of the website, we were talking about the vision, what Spacio will do. And most of the thing with conformity analysis, like the full package, this is what we're going to do. And people bought that vision. And for the people who, like, that's our fault, but for everyone who rightfully understood that the vision is actually the product as it is today, they got that deception. They said, oh, you expect this is what you get, it falls down. So most of the people who bought, like, during those first month of the pre-sales, they actually support us and they're patient and they enjoy the beta today, and they were not there for the money. They were there for architects, those kind of early adopters.
Sure. The early believers, the ones that are
believers, and most of them were actually people that we knew from our network, because we already did keynotes for Graphisoft and ArchiCAD, like in different countries. We already kind of had an audience. But then for some other people, and for some time, at least until the December time, the website was still communicating this vision, and people were kind of still buying organically. And we were seeing a lot of churn, a lot of people being not happy, like, you claim this and then you sell that. And that's a very big mistake on our part. That's not professional, and that's something we learned to correct, and I advise people to be careful with. And then we change the website and we talk, okay, this is what we have now on the website. It's very minimal. You have quite little information. It doesn't speak too much. And the vision, we talk in different occasions, like here. And since then, we see bigger retention because expectations are what it should be. So that's, we started selling very, very early, but we are very eager to launch the first version. And what is the first version is also a question, because we talk about in startup, in product, in business, we talked about product market fit. And basically we have to define our ICP, our ideal customer profile. Who are those? So for us today, it's architects working in architectural firms or municipalities or real estate developers. Anyway, you need to be an architect to use Spacio, because we think that role is in the architect's hand. We don't want to. And working in residential projects, small to large, not single houses, but one plot with at least 1-2 buildings or many, many more. That either you work only in BIM and you don't have the knowledge of early design tools or Rhino or Grasshopper, or maybe you use SketchUp a little bit, but you're basically stuck in BIM and you want something different to do things faster.
Mm-hmm.
Or you also use Rhino, Grasshopper, and so forth, but you want to streamline the process more, or you want not only one or few super users using those tools in-house, you want something for everyone. So that's our, and then which markets? For now, we have customers in 37 at least countries. So it's a global problem. Our first customers was from Honolulu, actually, Hawaii. That was very interesting.
Wow.
But today we focus on Scandinavia and the DACH region because Scandinavia, the German cultures are quite similar, and even the architecture process and market are not so different. So that's where we focus, and we would think we will release a first version rather soon for
Makes
those.
sense. I especially if you have so much focus, or the vision is focusing on compliance, I imagine that's like driven by like local regulation. Like it's hard to have a global product from the onset.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll have to build the pieces. So for now, we soon will connect to cadastral data for Europe and most larger markets in Europe. And then regulation-wise, we work very close with architects anyhow. Like we have a bunch of customers which are really giving us almost weekly feedback. And we focus on Norway, Sweden, Germany at the moment to have this tight dialogue to make sure Spacio fits in those markets.
Today it's got a kind of clear market fit, and you've clearly spread globally with the 37 countries. Just going back to that 395 figure, how do you assess what the value to the market is initially, or is it just kind of throw a figure up and
that was so tough? Because in one hand, Andre was telling the team, this is disruptive. I do feasibility studies in 2 weeks. You multiply the hourly rate of an architect times 2 weeks, and you see the PDF report they give and the little flexibility of iteration that process gives. And that's already, I don't know, in euros, at least 10,000 euros for a study like this, like bare minimum. So why don't we charge 10,000 euros? And I'm like, yeah, but that's different when you sell a service and when you sell a product. We can't have a license for 10,000 euros per project. Like no one will buy it, because at the end they do it themselves. And when you buy a service, you buy someone to put your finger on. If this is wrong, this guy did it wrong. So you buy liability in the price. Okay, but let's look at the competition. And then some piece of the competition were like much cheaper, and then some are more expensive. And then it's kind of a philosophy. Do you want to be... it's like when you go to the groceries, you can buy bananas. Do you want to be the cheapest banana on the shelf, or you want to be the right priced banana because it tastes good? And you want, yeah. So we decided to be a quality product. We spend a lot of time in every feature. So maybe development is not that fast for some people, but everything we give out, we are sure it works very, very fine. And we don't want to be cheap. We want to be good quality. And for most people, price is not a breaker because the cost of opportunity is even higher. Like doing your project the same way is already time consuming, pricey. So, and we also look at what ArchiCAD costs. What does Revit cost, on a yearly license? What does Rhino cost? Basically puts you somewhere in that range. But pricing is something which is always under discussion. And therefore, one day we decided to stop talking about it because...
And just put a number.
Yeah, if you don't stop talking about it, you talk about it every day. If you talk about it a day, you don't do the product. You just talk about pricing. Mm-hmm. So we're very much willing to adapt and to correct the price for us. And even now, pricing is less an issue. We opened a freemium on January 1st to give Spacio to the most amount of people possible for them to try to see what's possible. And we have more than 14,000 different accounts already created since then. And that's a third maybe are students. And the rest is architects wanting to try things and slowly converting to the paid version to unlock more features and so. Yeah.
And now you've got the pricing more settled in terms of the sales cycle. What does that look like, and what is your kind of most successful channel? Is it the freemium? Is it webinars? How do you find most people convert to Spacio?
Yes. So since that very early sales that we did with the first webinar in the first 6 months and so on, we haven't pushed sales ourselves at all. We have been very much passive, focusing on the product because we're a small team, and sales have been very organic. So we do marketing content on social media as much as we can, and it's always not enough. And then we attract people to the website, and we let them visit, and we let them use the freemium, and they convert automatically. Because we think we are close to the first version and the product market fit, and we think that in a 4-month time, the product will be to a level that we can sell it confidently and actively to most users. However, we have started in March, April to sell to Germany quite actively. I've been working with a really cool guy I've met in Munich as well. So we've been reaching out to architecture office in Germany, where I've been doing the sales, the prospect, and that's all about basically understanding what your needs are, what the tools you're using today, what's the workflow, what's the pain you're experiencing, and very honestly, this is what Spacio can give. This is what Spacio can connect to your workflow. Try it, and if you want to buy it, fine, and if you don't, fine. We don't want to push anything to anyone. We're focusing on making the good product at the moment. So very light on the foot on sales until now, quite purposely, because again, you have only one opportunity to make a good first impression, and we want to make it right. And also because we got some basic funding from Norwegian government, we have grants, we have some projects, we have a little bit of capital from families and friends that also Norwegian government have been able to match a little bit. So we've bought ourselves some runway, as we call it, and now we are fundraising, and at the end of it, so I can't say too much about it, but now we also in the position to increase the team around the summertime and from September to focus more on the product on one hand, and also very much on marketing, customer success, and later on sales as well.
Fair. That's funny, actually. The next question I had on my list was around fantasy VC. So with the assumption that you got, a couple of million euros or Norwegian krone investment, like how would you be using that money? I mean, you've kind of hinted at that, but I don't know if you want to expand further on that point, or you can leave it
Yes.
at that, like whatever you're comfortable with.
So we're starting a workshop with a new business coach, which is really brilliant to help us navigate this next stage in the coming month and semester. But what I feel I really need help with is like, I'm not the best coder, but I have a big part of the vision, and I want to be a little bit more present on the product side, because now it's been almost a year that I'm barely coding and I'm doing all the rest. So I let Stian, Andre, and our fourth member, which is a full-time senior developer, they do the code. So I need help with a business assistant to kind of unload myself, and someone I could teach to do most of the things that I cannot automate with AI, because like we are really good using AI and agents and automated workflows. So we already say we're a team of 4 full-time, but actually we're maybe 12 if you count the AIs we're using. But there are limits to what AI can do, and there are things only human can do. So I want to delegate some of that to someone to work closer to me. And then we have marketing. We want to be more present on events, social medias, and basically the exposure of the brand and the building of the brand, communicating our values and so on, making more webinars. And then thirdly, customer success. We want to take care of our existing customers and users before finding new ones. And I think there is a lot of value in making them feel heard, that we are here, taking their feedback and implementing it in the product and making it valuable for them. So that would be the third profile. And very soon after, when the customer success and the marketing has been doing some groundwork, a little bit of a sales team to discover and to tackle the DACH region. We want to focus on Germany, this region. I don't speak good enough German, unfortunately, after 6 months in Germany. I came to Germany thinking like I speak 5 languages fluently, and German is like I speak halfly, and I hate to do something halfly. Either you do it or you don't do it. But no, I don't speak good enough German to do sales. So maybe something in that profile.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, parallel to this, development.
Makes
So
sense.
we're looking for architects like us who have been coding and those kind of atypical profiles of parametric design, computational design, a lot of things. When we started, we were not many on the planet doing this. But we're looking for profiles which are really understanding architecture. We have a lot of experience as an architect, because how to code architecture requires both the architecture skill and the code, and also this mindset of how to have those discussions, how to translate. It is quite hard. So we are looking for this kind of talent. If you think you're very skilled out there, reach out to us. And we're also looking for more senior traditional software developer for helping us with backend and structuring the code in general. And also, I got to meet already with the TUM, the Technical Universität München environment in München, a lot of very good profile working in studying architecture, doctorates studying AI and architecture, and I think there is a lot of talent to take from those leading universities. It may be at Delft in Amsterdam, it may be at TUM, it may be in Denmark. I think there are some poles in the world where we are already shaping very, very good students. And I'm looking for the older profiles because I need the expertise in architecture. You
Yeah.
can't just be fresh, because you need to have experience in real world projects, in my opinion.
Yeah, but for that, like it sounds like I think that's like the problem, right? With a lot of time, like construction is like people in construction or in architecture, the design space, like they trust people that come from that world.
Mm.
But then you obviously, I guess, need funding because those people are relatively rare. So
Mm.
like you need to also compensate them accordingly. I think,
Mm.
yeah, that sounds like an
And
interesting
then
challenge
another
of building the
question,
team.
yeah, then it's the question, or if I find someone in Munich, if I find someone in India, I don't know, if I find someone somewhere else, what kind of company culture are we building? Are we a remote only kind of company where we find the talents where they are and that's fine, and we just make sure we have a kind of dynamic that makes everyone feels included? Or are we office and we want a floor where everyone sits together and can, tap themselves on the shoulder and so on? And I think we may not have the full answer today, maybe something in between, hybrid. But we really believe with the right people, it's possible to do a mix of,
Yeah.
a team which is accountable and everyone shapes the product. We don't want this pyramid. We come from those large firms, very corporate, where you need to ask permission for everything. And then there is this kind of game of politics where you think your manager is asking permission to his hire, but actually is waiting for the ID to die out. And it is so unhealthy for the company. We're more looking for people which really know what problem we're solving and that can work and fix things and own the product. We don't want to remain the founders and the very cocky architects, dictating everything. If you have some experience to bring to the table, do it and implement it and bring the product, shape the product with us.
From your answer there, you very much focus on, say, customer care in terms of you're looking for organic growth in terms of the customer base, and you mentioned there that you would focus on an investment in customer success management. Are you worried that with the injection of external capital, say from a VC, you'll have to be focused more on aggressive growth in terms of driving in a sales team as opposed to those two investments?
So that has been the worry for a long time, especially looking at the Spacemaker Forma journey, because they come from Norway. They actually come from the same office as we do. Same office in Oslo, same people around.
And is that called Autodesk Forma now?
Yeah.
Or is that okay?
Yeah.
Right.
And Spacemaker Forma did something amazing, and they did it in a way. They scaled very fast to a lot of people, and they worked in this kind of units, departments, and that's a model that worked for them. And everyone can judge as they please. We don't want to do this way. We want to remain more agile, more small, more flexible. So we're quite careful with the kind of capital and investor we talk to, because indeed there may be some people who sell their business. Like, my product is not my business. My product is Spacio. If I have to sell a piece of my business to get capital to build a product, okay, that's one thing. But my goal is not to build a business that is more and more valuable on the stock price. If one day, and then exit, and then I'm rich, and then whatever my product becomes, I don't care. No, I really care about the product. I really care about changing this industry. So my product is Spacio. Not every business owner thinks this way, and that's legit. maybe my next business will be selling the business for the business, and the product will just be a gimmick. I don't know. But for Spacio, that's not the case. So we are very careful about those kind of investors. We learned to screen them, to understand, okay, this is your agenda. And the investors we're talking with at the moment really do not have this mindset. And at one point, you have the basic rules of shareholders. If we are majority shareholders, so they can think what they want, and they may be able to veto or to block a decision. But even how that works, we still have control. Well, we will still have control for quite some time, quite a few years. So no one have to fear that Spacio will go into any direction that we do not judge is right. We are in
But
control. Yeah.
but then just to be a little cynical, isn't it not really hard to raise at that point? Because investors obviously want liquidity back, right? So it sounds
Yeah.
like you don't want to sell, totally fine. But then like the only way to give liquidity back is like you either IPO or you give dividends. But most investors are not in the dividends business, they're in the liquidation
Yes,
business.
but like one investor I talked to at the end of my pitch, I was like, I'm raising X amount of money to be able to be profitable in 2026. I said, and then he was like, why do you want to be profitable? I'm like, don't you want me to be profitable so I can pay you back? No, I don't make money on your sales. I make money on your next funding round, and you will be funded if you have clients. Yes, if you have sales, but mostly if you have traction. They have different KPIs they're looking at. So, and when I heard like, why do you want to be profitable? It clashed with me, because in my head, of course, I need to be profitable. If I decide to be a baker or to open a shop down the street, I need to be profitable as soon as possible. That's how I think.
Sure.
For them, that's not the case. So yeah. So this can be conflicting, this kind of mindset. And for now, we chose not to sell because we are a limited team, and we still do sales. And I mean, we answer to all inquiries coming in, and they come every week. But I'm not going out purposely to sell. I'm doing inbound, that's called. So and we chose not to do that, so we can focus on the product, so the product is better, so there is more retention and etc. But yeah, the fundraising game we've been very scared of, and because we haven't been founding any company before, because we didn't know how investors think, quite until 6 months ago, we were shit scared of investment. To be honest, in the team, we are like, we need to grow ourselves. We need to find some free money, equity free money. We need to sell. But we didn't have the infrastructure. We were not mature. And then 6 months ago in Munich, with the coaching we got, we kind of understood, okay, this is a go big or go home game. Spacio will not survive, and our mission will not be fulfilled if we stay a group of cool guys doing a cool product that no one uses. And if for our visions to be fulfilled, we need to get stronger, a little bit bigger, have more means, and work with more talents, so we can reach architecture office in Brazil, in India, in Canada, in France, in any country. Then that's the road we will choose, because our goal is this adoption, is being a tool used by everyone. And that's more important than yeah, what I feel inside about some kind of thing which is quite irrational. And also I feel that I didn't understand. Today I understand investment much better. So I'm less sentimental and more pragmatic, and I can read the terms and I can agree to. And some terms are very limiting, and some terms are definitely scary. Like for now, like basically when you get VC money, you don't own your company anymore for X amount of years. Well, I don't plan to get out of it anyway, so that's fine. Like, but my hands are a bit tighter, but that's for the product's sake, so fine.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And to close, it's the forward-thinking, difficult, big question. We've been mentioned in the podcast today. Generative design is there's much buzz around the industry. How do you see it impacting the architecture industry as a whole in, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
So a lot of people talks that we are in a shortage of housing, and there are many dimensions to solve the problem our industry has. There is architect and them being able to produce high quality housing, not only conforming to the regulations, because regulations are shit. If we build in the next 50 years with the regulations that we have in place today in Europe, which are the most high in the world, we will still go to 7+ degrees global warming. So just to make architect clear, we are going straight to hell even if we do the best we can do today. So we need much more than have a green character on the energy efficiency of the thing. Like we are so far behind, and that's really something I'm passionate about, and I do many talks, many presentations where I show those things. We are really in a bad position, but that's our problem. Then there is the constructors, there is the cement, the material problem, there is the global circular economy. There is so many problems to tackle, and we all need to work together, and we all need to have a bold, strong vision and to act on it. And we are many to move forward. So I forgot what your question was. I got emotional on that.
Generative design, like how will generative design affect architecture?
So generative design can play a part in facilitating architects to think about what really matters and to think about new problems, because we are still stuck in the old problems. And how many new buildings? Like I'm working on a consulting with a new office building in Oslo that I've been working for a year now, doing some consultancy for. Yesterday at the last meeting, I learned, this was supposed to be a massive wood top structure on top of an existing building for the carbon footprint, and we decided it will be steel and concrete instead. How can you go back to that choice? Like you've been working, that project's been existing for 5 years, and then last minute you go back because some kind of economics, but if we keep changing our mind, if we keep like not daring, there will be a lot of problems. So I think we need to free architects from all those monkey tasks. Maybe generative design is one part of them. So architects can focus on the real problems. So I think generative design is one small piece of the solution to automate what computers can do better than humans. And it's not generating projects and ideas, but it's shooting, like what we say, the generative design in Spacio is not meant for users to click on a button and have the optimal solution that conforms and complies to whatever. What's your take as an architect then? We want ideas to be fast so you can explore different perspectives. I tell users, so you can have a conversations with the tool and yourself. What if I did like this? I didn't think about that. Spacio suggests something. That's actually a cool approach. Let's explore it. Maybe that's a shitty approach. Why is it a shitty approach? And then you can have this conversation with yourself, with the tool, with your team, with your client. And I think that's valuable.
Sure. I mean, we've talked a lot about Spacio, and you've highlighted some interesting, or I think, potential future events with the company. But just to close, like, is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't touched upon about the company, or where they can find out about Spacio?
I would say be curious. Now we have the freemium, try it for yourself, play around, watch less Netflix and use more Spacio on your free time. Be patient. We have a community we're trying to build. It's quite difficult. We haven't done this before. We have a Discord where we really try to connect with people. if you choose Spacio or if you choose another tool, it's fine. I don't think there is much competition. I think there is a lot of cooperation. And even now I'm talking to different founders of this competition spectrum. Like, as long as you, as an architect, try to challenge yourself to deal with real world problems and not like how to move 50 window in Revit and lose like how much hours, like this is bullshit. You should use your work to really try to impact your society. And if you use Spacio or not, I don't care. I want people to be engaged. But if you want to reach out to Spacio, website spacio.ai, email at info@spacio.ai. And within the app, you can also access our Discord community and reach out if you have anything you want to talk about for us to transform this industry.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, Franz. Really appreciate it.
You can take that as a
Thank you
headline.
for having me, for letting me express some of my vision, my passion, and
yeah, we hope you found that useful as much as we did. That was super interesting. Really, thank you so much.
Maybe we can do a catch up in 6 months and see how.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see how it's going. Let's see how the scale up is going. If if the little Easter eggs turn out to be true.
Yeah.
Perfect. Franz,